Today we are reacting to Almost 34 Years Old and Never Been in a Relationship. Why? By Daria Krapop. Let's see what she has to say, because I have no clue.
I'm almost 34 years old and I've never been in a relationship. And I'm going on my first date in years today. What a loser, eh? And I don't even want to go. I already feel this is not going to be a great match, but I feel I need to put myself out there. And the more I put it away in time, the weirder it gets. And the weirder I get. So I haven't been on a proper date in years, actually.
It's almost certainly going to go bad when she does go on a date because she's already putting so much pressure on herself. And that sucks because that almost guarantees that your date's going to be awkward. You're just completely lacking confidence, and that's the biggest turnoff, not just for women towards men, but it's also like men towards women. I personally don't like going on a date with a woman who doesn't really have any understanding of herself, any confidence in herself. It just shows kind of a lack of like personality and interests, right? Because a lot of dating, you're just getting to know each other. You're finding out what your interests are, and it's going to be infinitely easier once you find that common interest that you both have, because now you have a world of stuff to talk about. So when someone just totally doesn't have any confidence, they're not going to be able to hold a conversation, which is a huge turnoff. What makes the difference to me between a good date and a bad date is how good the conversation flows, right? Like, I don't want to date somebody who's boring, who can't hold a conversation about anything, who doesn't have any kind of interests. Even if it's nothing close to the interests that I have, I can still nerd out with somebody about whatever they're into, and I can learn about what they're into from them directly, from them just telling me about it. But the only way to do that is you need to be kind of like laid back and confident in yourself. Otherwise, you're not going in with the right mindset. Like, you need that mindset that things are going to go well, regardless of whether you even instantly establish a connection or you don't establish a connection. Because I can go into that, right? Like, I've talked to women countless times where we have no common interests, but I learn about theirs, and all of a sudden they're having a blast telling me all about whatever crap they're into, and I'm just genuinely interested and can relate it to stuff that I'm into. One of the biggest examples is sports. I'm not a big fan of sports. I can watch a sports game and enjoy it, a hockey game, a basketball game in particular. I'll watch the Super Bowl, but in general, I don't give a crap about sports. It's a totally different viewing experience when I watch it compared to someone who's a big sports fan, who understands every little nuance and rule and who the players are and who the teams are and all this behind the scenes stuff. But I can still have a lengthy conversation with somebody about sports. They'll just have to fill me in along the way. So I feel bad for these people, because this woman, like, I feel like a lot of women feel similarly, and a lot of men feel similarly, and it's tragic that divide can't be, like, a bridge can't be built between that divide, and both men and women make it easier on each other in the dating realm.
Like, I've never been in a long-term relationship. I've been in a couple of situationship that kind of burned me, and since then I was just avoiding men like a plague.
Women say that a lot, that they're just done with men, they're avoiding men. It's also very tragic, right? Just like it's femcellism. It's the same thing as these incels who are just like blame women for their failure to be good at dating and take some accountability. It's you. It's not men. It's you. It's not women, it's you. You're the problem. You're the common denominator. And it kind of baffles me when people give up, because it's such a like fundamental core part of us as humans, like our core, like our imperative, our biological imperative, to date, to build those connections, to build love and passion and find love and explore that. To just entirely give up on that because because you face a little bit of difficulty. At least this woman is 34. At least she's experienced some life. It's so weird when people put these videos and they're like in their early 20s. Like, especially men. Men. Your peak of your dating life is at age 28. Like, what you should be doing in your 20s is establishing yourself in some type of way. Whether that be, like, you should be finding interests, finding who you are as a person, gaining confidence in yourself, and building yourself up. And that should continue throughout your entire 20s. And part of that is getting, like, mentally healthy, physically healthy, cutting, like, distancing yourself from bad friendships, all kinds of things, getting all the like negativity out of your life. So like what will naturally happen for men, what should happen anyway, the natural progression of a man is he's finding stuff out in his early 20s and he's progressing and progressing and progressing, and he just keeps progressing. So then when he's like 28, he's built that confidence. He's accomplished a few things, gotten to know himself way better as an adult, as a human being. And that confidence will lead to way more dating success. You should be at like, now your Riz should permanently increase throughout your whole life. That's why there's these old guys out there in their 50s and their 60s who are some of the smoothest talking men you will ever meet in your life. That's because they have a lifetime of Riz. They've experienced rizzing firsthand countless times, right? So they're going to be amazing at it. Why wouldn't they? So like, people, give yourself time. And don't give up on dating at any point, because this woman's issue, it's not men. It's absolutely not men. We're going to find out what it is. Let's hear more.
I feel like this is not a bad thing to do. Let's be honest. But also, you know, whenever I say it out loud, it always sounds so weird and so like, I don't know, like it's such a big thing. I don't think about it on a daily basis, but then something, like I was watching a romantic comedy yesterday, and then I kept thinking that would never happen to me. Like,
of course, so many women fall into this trap of they see goofy crap in movies. Like, romantic comedies are completely absurd. They're ridiculous, so unrealistic, nothing like real life. Look at even The Notebook. One of the biggest, many women will point to this as their favorite romantic comedy, or outright their favorite movie of all time is The Notebook. Think about the plot of The Notebook. This guy hard simps for this woman for like from like almost his entire adult life, like a decade, like his entire 20s. I don't know the exact age of the characters, but Ryan Gosling, he's just simping hard for this woman. Like, they dated a little bit, and I get it. I've been in many relationships, some of which I still have very passionate feelings for, right? I dated this girl for a couple months way back in like 2016. And guess what? if she were to walk in my door right now, we would instantly start a relationship together. Instantly. But I'm not sitting here wasting my time building a house for her, right? Like, I think she might be married to a guy. I don't know. I haven't heard from her since 2018. But hey, that passion is still there, right? That connection still there. But like Ryan Gosling in The Notebook is an omega simp. Like a ridiculous simp. Like what's her face? Rachel McAdams. She gets married to some dude. She eventually cheats on that dude. Like a decade later, she cheats on the dude, on like James Marsden. Shout out. Is it James Marsden? I'm pretty sure it is. Could be wrong. Maybe I should check that, but I'm thinking it's James Marsden. Check out the show Jury Duty. That'd be funny if it wasn't James Marsden. But she gets married to this guy, eventually cheats on him, leaves him, gets with Ryan Gosling. How shitty is that? How dumb is that? How ridiculous is that? Like women want this imaginary Ryan Gosling who's simping for them for a decade, when what would be good for Ryan Gosling as a man would be to actually like move on and find a relationship with somebody who, like, you know, it's so like weird and circumstantial that they broke up, but they didn't really want to break up. Like, oh my god. You actually, like, in reality though, what would happen if that actually shook out? If the world of The Notebook existed in the real world, even for the time, what would happen would be she hooks up with Ryan Gosling. Instead of leaving her husband, she would just go back with her husband. That's exactly what would happen. Because why? A woman's going to be so turned off, right? If she meets up with you 10 years later and you've been just a whimpering simp the whole time, you've just been hung up on her for a decade and just... That's demented. That's obsessive. That's creepy as shit. And that's pathetic. That shows that you're not a man at all. My god. Like, it's actually... It's pretty, like... It's stalkery in a way. It's ridiculous. Like, she... And Ryan Gosling was, like, writing her letters the whole time, but she never got the letters. Like, the dude's... For the time... Like, if it was modern day where you can, like, find somebody on social media, he would be a stalkering, simp, loser, pathetic, basically an incel, is what Ryan Gosling's character would be if that were set in modern day. And then even the ending is ridiculous, where she, like, loses her mind, and he just keeps taking care of her, even though she forgets who he is. Like, dude... You have a family who wants you to like move on with your life and focus on them and you're focus on your kids and your grandkids, dude. I get it. I'm not saying he should like cut his wife out of his life, but she doesn't remember who he is. I'm not like, you don't have to spend, if literally it's such an issue that your family, your children are like kind of begging you to stop focusing your entire existence on this person who doesn't remember who the hell you are, then you should probably kind of listen. Maybe you're kind of an obsessive weirdo. Like, you're neglecting your children, even like in grandchildren. And so many romantic comedies are so like over the top and so not reflective of real life and real dating, right? Like even in The Notebook, Rachel McAdams, whore, cheating whore, outright. She's married. That's what it is. But the thing, so many of those in so many of those romantic comedies, they act like cheating doesn't exist. Like, and in so many of them, the idea that like cheating is even an option. It's like, how about you make a story that exists in the real world, right? where people sometimes they cheat on each other. I don't cheat on people, but that's also because modern day, like, I don't know, maybe I would if modern dating wasn't the thing that it is, where you have these situationships, these quasi relationships, friends with benefits. I've never had the need to cheat, but back in the day when you were relationships were actually like had a high level of commitment very early on, who knows, I don't know. I just haven't lived in that time. But yeah, romantic, get so many women. You just need to, and men, absolutely, and men, because men also have this ridiculous idea of dating. So many of these incel type men say like, oh, it would be so much easier if I was lived in the 50s. Well, like, what are you talking about? Dating would be harder. Life would be harder. Life was way harder back then in certain ways. And it's not like the fundamentally things have changed. Like I was explaining, Ryan Gosling would be a simpering, weirdo, obsessive stalker who Rachel McAdams, if she were a real person, if this character were a real person, would be horribly turned off by and would not leave her husband for. Abso-freaking-lutely. Like, the same principles apply, but the difference is back then you had to actually ask out women face to face. You didn't have the luxury of social media and dating apps where you can ask somebody out. You can ask somebody to have sex. You can ask somebody, like, we exist in this world where you have an ocean of preamble before you ever even meet somebody in face to face. You can literally have it where you are guaranteed going to have sex before you ever meet the person in real life, where you've already established, hey, where you've already sexted 10 times, you've already had like 10 sexual conversations, you've already sent dirty pictures back and forth before you ever even meet in person. Back in the 50s, though, you had to have a heart. You had to be a handyman. You potentially had to be willing to go to war. You had to be like a total hard ass of a guy who probably worked a job where we didn't have anywhere close to the safety standards that we have today. So you're risking your life even going to work. Like, life was so much harder. Dating is so much easier now in certain ways. It's harder to get a committed relationship, but it is way easier to get a relationship. But men and women, they get this idea from that dating is like it is in the movies. Dating is nothing like it is in the movies. If you're relying on movies and TV shows to teach you about dating, you're living in a total fantasy world. You are learning nothing. Like, my goodness. And who told you that this was a good idea? Who told you that movies are actually like a good representation of dating at all? Ask anyone who's dated a lot their opinion, what they think of how dating is portrayed in media. Literally anyone, man or woman, will tell you it's portrayed terribly. It will give you the absolute wrong ideas. Do not use that as even a reference whatsoever. Because dating is pretty greasy, right? Like, I'm going to be honest. The last time I dated somebody and we didn't have sex, by the third date, it was like the most awkward, bizarre experience of my life. I was like blown away. I was like, this is incredibly weird.
I totally, fully don't believe that I could ever be in a relationship, and that's my problem, because I'm just manifesting that into my life. But also, how easy is not to believe in it when I've never really experienced that? You know what I mean? I haven't been fat my whole life. When I was a teenager, I was quite skinny, and all my friends were getting boyfriends, and I didn't. I don't know if that's my personality or me being awkward. I don't know. Like, I feel like.
All right, just like these guys who complain in their 20s, their mid or early 20s, about, oh, I've never had a girlfriend. Oh, it's such a lost cause. Like, dude, how about you experience life a little bit? Give it a shot. Actually ask out some women before you give up. You absolute pathetic turd. But same thing with her. She's 34, so maybe she's giving it a shot here or there. But also, I mean, you're kind of pathetic. I'm sorry, but I gotta give you the truth. You're basically saying you've been overweight your entire adult life, and you struggle so much with dating that you're making a video about it, about how you basically have never had a boyfriend. And one of the first things you cite is your weight as an issue. So this is an issue that weighs heavily on your mind. But how come you've done nothing to change it? I don't get it, right? Like, I'm a bit overweight, but I don't care. I still get dates. And guess what? I'm incredibly stressed. This is the most stressful year of my life. No question. But, and my weight's been fluctuating, but I don't give a shit. I'm not even like looking to date this year. I've given up on the notion, right? I don't care. I don't give a crap. But for me, it's not even an issue, right? Like, I got some pudge going for sure, but I ain't concerned. I ain't even worrying about dating. And I am dating, but what I don't get though, like, you've been overweight your entire adult life, and it weighs so heavily that you're completely failing at dating, that you've never had a boyfriend, and you think your weight is a large contributing factor to that. Yet in your entire existence as an adult, you're what? If you're 34, then from the time you're 18, we're talking 16 years? In 16 years, you've done nothing. You haven't, like, you've just been overweight for 16 years. And you didn't think, hey, I should change that. It ain't that hard to change. You just eat less. Like, just eat less food. It also saves you money, folks. All you gotta do is eat less food. You can eat the same freaking food. I did it. I lost 40 pounds in 2018. 40 pounds. And I ate the same crap I've always been eating. And all I did was like, hey, there's these things called calories. And that's what dictates your weight, is how much calories you're putting in and how much calories you're burning. I'm just going to put in less calories. So guess what happened? I lost 40 pounds. It was easy. I didn't have to change anything other than, instead of getting everything large size, instead of making food and eating the entire thing right then and there, leave a little bit for leftovers. Eat a little less meals per day. Just consume less. And I instantly realized I'm saving money by doing this. When I go out to eat, I'm getting smaller sized items, getting less. Instead of getting the triple cheeseburger, I'll just get a single cheeseburger. Oh, the Wendy's. Have you ever had Wendy's? Have you had their spicy chicken sandwich? The thing's awesome. I'm telling you, if if you did this every day, man or woman, get the spicy chicken sandwich from Wendy's with fries and a drink, a pop, get a Coke. Have that one as your dinner. In the morning, have a Jello, reduced sugar Jello snack packs, which are like 7 calories. Now, I'm not saying do this every day. This is like, it'd be a crazy idea to do this every day, because nutritionally it would you want to mix up what you eat a little bit. But let's say that's what you ate in a day. You ain't gonna starve to death. You might be kind of starved of some nutrients, but you could literally be eating that, basically all junk food, entirely junk food, and you're going to be losing weight. If that's what you ate in a day, you will lose weight. Because calorically, all of those things aren't that much. So I don't know, it just boggles my mind when these people don't do a damn thing. Like, you have this issue, an issue as big as completely having a complete failure of a dating life, and you won't even take the first step towards your goal of having one. Like, literally, what you mention first as the biggest issue, what you see yourself as the biggest issue, the biggest obstacle to you having a successful dating life is your weight, like you said. And you won't even take the simple step of just eating less. Just reducing your portions. My God. My God. These people need to be called out for how pathetic they are. That they can't even take the first step. I get it. It's mental illness, right? Like, people aren't like overweight their whole life for really any reason besides mental illness. But that doesn't mean they need to be coddled. That doesn't mean it's an excuse that you can just use forever.
My personality is not that bad. I have so many friends, and it's usually quite easy to me to make friends and meet new people. And I feel like I try to be kind, and I feel like I'm interesting and funny. So I don't know. Even the fatness shouldn't be that much of a problem, because there's guys who like it, and I know a lot of fat women who don't have that problem. So honestly, I think it's just in my head.
Yes, it certainly is in your entire head, because you're exactly right. There's tons of guys who don't care. Otherwise, all the fat women you see wouldn't be in relationships. But most of the fat women you see are in relationships. Why do you think that is? It is all in your head. You're way in your head. You're stressed out to hell to the prospect of even going on a date ever. It stresses you out. If you go into something anticipating it to be a total disaster, it probably will.
Literally manifesting that into my life. I grew up without that.
Yes, exactly. You're manifesting it. You're making it so it will definitely happen. That's what frustrates me so much about these these black pill community, is they just are so defeatist, and they don't understand that them being so defeatist is defeating them. You're defeating yourselves by disqualifying yourself instantly before you even tried to do anything the right way. And they use that defeatism to stop them from even learning about how to do it the right way, or going out and taking a chance and like getting firsthand experience on how to do it the right way.
Tension, and I feel like this kind of fucked me up for life. as weird as it sounds. Because, you know, in high school, when you're a teenager, it's like the time when you have like the first dates and first loves and all of that. And I didn't get much attention at that time. Same when I went to uni. Like, I've lived with couples and I've never even been on a date. I went on my first ever date when I was 23 and I lived in Texas. There was only one day. We never talked again. And then I think it took me like a good few years to go on another date. I don't want this to sound depressing. And like, I have such a full life and I'm like legit so happy being by myself, but kind of to the point that I feel like I'm too comfortable now. It's kind of weird for me to talk about this on the internet because I know people that actually know me in real life watch it, so maybe turn it off now. And everyone said that when I'm gonna move to London it's gonna get so much better because London is so big, dating is gonna be so much fun. No, it's even worse. Like, at least in Edinburgh, when I was on dating apps, I was talking to people and they were like responding and guys were messaging me and then just like, you know, naturally conversation would die and I would like, in the past I would go on a few dates, but then
I'm very worried. She's talking about the conversation dying. It's got to be entirely her.
Obviously I stopped and then I resumed my activity when I moved here, and oh my god, it's so much worse. I think the problem is because there's so many people and everyone feels like, oh, if not this person, next is gonna be better, and they always think like the best thing is yet to come, you know what I mean? And a lot of men, they just match for vanity. They would just like swipe right on all the girls and then we'll see how many matches they can get. So it is kind of discouraging. Like,
Yeah, that's a common practice in like dating apps. The ones where, well, so many are structured just to be swipe and not even look, right? Like Tinder, there's going to be like thousands of guys in your area where they're just going, yes, 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 not even looking, just spamming yes. Because for guys, especially guys who aren't like models, they're going to get a low amount of matches, right? So strategically, they're just using basic strategy to get matches. And then from there, they can filter them out.
I never message men first, only on Bumble. And like, I messaged a couple of guys and they like either unmatched me or never replied. And that kind of hurt my feelings. Like,
It's because you don't have a personality. Right? Like, I'm sorry. This is going to sound harsh. But, like, I use Bumble. I use dating apps. And my method is, would I kick this person out of bed? Meaning, is this person lacking in physical attractiveness enough to where I would definitely not want them in my bed? And then there's other things that I also disqualify people for, right? If they have a lot of pictures, if they have like a ton of pets or something, if I think that even hooking up with them would be a weird experience because maybe they got like a whack load of kids or they have like an incredible amount of pets. If you got like every picture that you post, you're like cuddling a dog, I want nothing to do with you, right? Because I'm not looking for a three-way with you and your dog, lady. Like, but a woman can stand out tremendously, even on Bumble, by doing one thing, and that's having a personality. Putting a tiny dash of personality in there, you're going to stand out tremendously. Because I'll inform you on something. A huge amount of women come across as having zero personality whatsoever. It's not that they don't have a personality. It's just that it's incredibly hidden. And they're not even attempting to like bring it forward. Even on a dating app. It's so dumb and so bizarre. But it's what women do. So just having any type of personality, which can also not just be like directly presented in your profile, but you can show your personality through what you say and the messages you send. So you're not only failing to portray your personality in a good way on your profile, but in the messages you send, all you will probably, what you're saying probably makes you sound like desperate and uninteresting. It is what it is, right?
Really trying not to get it to me.
Or it's just that she's aiming way too high. To be fair, that is a common thing with women. I've heard women talk about how they use dating apps where they have like the most insanely high standards imaginable. And you got to understand, like if you're using a dating app whatsoever, your standards as a woman should be incredibly low, like insanely low, right? And I'm saying this as a man who's on dating apps, but like the way I perceive myself on dating apps is I'm a guy who's actually like really interesting and fun and funny and like a total catch. But you wouldn't really know that because being a guy on a dating app is inherently kind of greasy. It's just a very suboptimal way of asking somebody out and starting a relationship, right? Like the ideal is that happens in person. And in person, I can actually I can build a connection with somebody so much faster and actually riz them. And it's great, right? But on dating apps, you don't have that luxury, so you're kind of working from behind. Sorry for the bad pause, lady. Let's see what else you have to say.
But times are tough. I preach all about like being single and loving your life and all of that. And yes, I do love my life. And yes, I'm happy being single and I don't need a husband, I don't need kids and any of that. But sometimes I can't help but feel like there's something fundamentally wrong with me. It's so stupid to say, and again,
there is something fundamentally wrong with you. You're absolutely correct. You're incorrect that you're happy, and you preaching other people that they will be happy. Never enjoying one of the most enjoyable parts of life. Relationships, building connections, love. Oh my God. Like, are you joking me? Are you kidding me? Like, I'm somebody who has a kid. And one of the greatest times of my life was being on paternity leave and spending time with my baby girl. Just hanging out with her, laughing, feeding her food, hanging out, having a laugh, having a good time, going for walks, watching her grow and learn and teaching her things. And even, she's a baby, so it's like hard, right? What you're teaching her is like so fundamental. And then I think of other things, right? Like times. One that pops into my head, right, is a few years ago. I'm dating this girl, and it's New Year's Eve, and we're sitting on my couch, and like neither of us, we didn't want to party, we didn't want to like go anywhere. We just chilled on the couch, watched the ball drop, hanging out. I don't even remember what happened. Like they were interviewing people at Times Square, and somebody said something really dumb, and then the girl I was with made a joke about the goofy thing that they said, right? It was kind of like the rule of threes or whatever, where the interviewer said something, then the person said something funny, and then the person sitting next to me said something funny, right? And it was hilarious. It just happened to be hilarious, and we just laughed. Me and the girl I was seeing, we laughed our asses off for like 15 minutes straight. And it kind of like made the whole rest of the night so much more like special through pure like randomness. And it was somebody I enjoyed spending time with. I mean, there is few things I've ever experienced in life that were that enjoyable. Like, it's not even close. And I've accomplished like major goals. I am very have very close friends, family, people I love. I've experienced tons of awesome stuff. I've I've experienced a lot of life, and I can't imagine. I feel like the journey of my life, the story of my life would be very sad without those experiences of like being in love and the experience of being a father. I feel like my life would be pretty empty and sad without that, right? Not saying people have to have kids. Like, you can have a very great life without kids, but without love, without relationships, without connections, that's crazy to me. That is so crazy. And I'm somebody who's dated a lot of women in my time. I've built a lot of connections. I find it kind of easy. I find that like not only the easiest part, but like the most enjoyable part. Because you get to know people, you get to learn things, you get to learn about yourself at the same time. Building these connections with people, it's like such a core part of your humanity. And it's a different experience than building connections with people who you don't date. Right? Like, technically I have a way better connection with members of my immediate family and my closest of friends than I will probably ever have in any relationship I will ever have in my life. Right? Like, I'm sorry, but there's no chance in hell anyone I ever date is going to know me as well as my best friend knows me. Right? Or knows me as well as my mom knows me. Because they've already known me for decades. There ain't enough time in a lifetime to do that kind of catch up, right? You know what I mean? It's and you kind of there's when you know somebody as a kid and you see them develop as a person, that can't even be duplicated, right? It's not even possible. Somebody would have to know my like exact development. Like, if someone dates you, lady, you being 34, whenever you made this video, I'm not even sure when you made this video, 7 months ago. So you're probably 35. No one that you ever date will ever know you as well as your best friend knows you and your immediate family knows you. It's impossible. Because anyone who gets to know you will only know you from the point of you being 35 and beyond that. So there's like a giant formative chunk of your life that they can't even possibly experience and begin to understand that element of you. But even with that being the case, even with you having bonds and connections that are stronger than any relationship type connection you will ever have, still those relationship experiences and connections and love, it's still so different. It's still so important and special and meaningful and rewarding. There's no going without it. I mean, I don't get people. I really don't. Honestly, because I'm of two minds of the whole situation with dating. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to have children. And ever since I was like in elementary school, I don't know what grade I would have been in. But there's a certain, as a boy, you start to notice girls. You start to become attracted to the opposite sex. And it's in two ways, right? First, it's like this kind of like weird feeling. You don't even understand it. It's kind of this like, you want to build some kind of like emotional connection, right? That kind of hits you first, or it hit me first. But then there's also like the attraction part of it, you know. When you're watching a movie and suddenly a woman takes her top off, you're like, I like this. I like this a lot, and you start becoming attracted to the opposite sex, and not just like an emotional way, but a physical way. And so once you become like a teenager and then an adult, you want to experience that emotional connection, but also that physical connection. So that's what I don't get, right? It's because there's people who, especially like a lot of young people out there, like say these women who go on these podcasts, or these guys in their 20s, which is weird that I feel like a lot of these guys in their 20s kind of get like, they fall for this weirdo grift that they should want like a marriage, like they should want to live on a farm and have a trad wife. Like, you're in your 20s, guys, have fun. That's what these women are doing. That's what these women on these podcasts are talking about. Of course they don't want to become a wife and be some like virginal trad wife. They're in their 20s. They want to have fun. They want to hook up. They want to experience that physical connection. Hooking up is fun. It's also like a biological imperative. It is hardwired into us to want to have those experiences and have that fun, have that physical connection, experience it, but also to experience that emotional connection. And there's people who very much seek both, right? There's people who, as soon as they're a teenager, they're hooking up with a lot of people, or as soon as they're a teenager, they're going from one relationship to the next, and they're clinging on desperately because they crave that emotional connection. It is by miles the most important thing to them. And some of those people remain like that forever. Like, some people certainly take it too far, but that doesn't mean that you should preach the absolute opposite of that, where it's like you should be telling people that they just should exist and totally outside of the realm of dating and relationships. No, that's too far. That's a step too far. Just like clinging on to relationships desperately and being madly in love all the time with whoever like, no. There's being in love, and then there's like this obsessive, insane love that causes people to cling on to each other for decades. Both are unhealthy, very unhealthy mindsets to have.
I feel very awkward. But also, we live in such weird times. I have so many friends, like so many beautiful, gorgeous women that they're not in relationships and they've been celibate for like years.
I just had Wendy's. That's probably why I mentioned it.
Because even casual dating is not fun anymore. Like, dating is just trash these days. And
what are you talking about, casual dating? You've never even had like a boyfriend. You haven't even done casual dating. Like, what do you... Oh, it's so bad these days. Well, like, what are you looking for, lady? Like, what is wrong with you? You don't even, like, you haven't even experienced dating at all. If anything, you should be seeking to start in casual dating, and then maybe from there advance onto more serious dating, because that's how most people end up in serious relationships. Is they're casually dating, and then it becomes less and less casual as time goes on. They kind of realize, hey, I like this person more. Most people that I like the person I was talking about, where we were on the couch and she was being really funny, I was barely into her to begin with. But we dated for a while. We built a connection. And then I became like so much more attracted to her as we built that connection and got to know each other on a deeper level. And that's kind of how dating works. It's so weird. So many men and women, these like that fail at dating, they have this kind of mindset that they're for some reason so wildly against casually dating. Why? Why? That's the reality we live in. That's what we exist in. The internet has opened the door and made it so it's like basically required. You almost can't exist in dating without participating in casual dating.
And I don't know what happened when you watch the old movies or like listen to stories even from like our parents' generation. Like men would pursue women.
Oh my god. This bull crap. Oh, stories from the old people. Yeah, they're like several generations back, dude. Chill on that. And like, people are crazy. People are out of their minds with this stuff. Do you not realize that people lie to their kids? Do you think any parents out there are really telling their kids every realistic detail of their dating life? Of how how mom and dad got together, right? It's usually a fluff BS fairy tale that they're telling, right? I have a daughter. I'm not going to tell her that she was basically a one night stand is how she came about. Like, why would I do that? I'm going to lie. I'm going to lie to her. I'm going to say, oh yeah, we started dating and we were in love. We were never in love. Not at all. We weren't even dating. We hooked up a couple of times. She got pregnant. It happens. Like, but I don't want my kid to know that. I'm going to lie to my kid. I'm going to say, hey, yeah, we were in a relationship. Oh yeah, it didn't quite work out. Not going to give her any reason why, other than, it didn't work out. That's what happened. I'm going to lie through my teeth. Am I going to tell my kid, hey, I've dated all these different women? Am I going to tell her every story of every wild experience that I've had? Or even give her like a basic general idea of how many women I've dated? No. Why would I? That's crazy. People lie to their kids completely. Like, think of just the stories you've heard from friends of how their dating life has gone. Their dating experiences. Think of anyone you know who has kids. And think about their experience that they've had in those relationships. Do you think any of those people are actually telling their kids all the nitty-gritty of everything? Oh, well, actually, your mom cheated on me, like, at this point, and, she was just my friends with benefits, and then she got pregnant, so we started dating. Like, stuff like that. Do you think kids are ever getting the real story? They're not. Do you think Hollywood's ever giving you real stories that relate to real dating? Do you think even your friends who in confidence are kind of giving you the nitty-gritty, the details, do you think they're telling you every single detail? They're not. Even they're lying. They're leaving out huge parts of the story. Usually parts of the story where they're in the wrong. Or they're doing something greasy and messed up. There's some people out there who don't care, but they're pretty rare. I'm one of them. If I'll tell my friends, I'll tell my coworkers, I'll tell them the most insane details. Like I said, I've dated a lot of women. This isn't something that I hide. I'm not ashamed of it. I don't know. And I know some people would find it terrible. I know there are women out there who wouldn't want to date a guy who's been around. They wouldn't. It'd a huge turnoff. But hey, I have a really boring job where we have time to tell each other's every story in our lives. So we do. And some of the stories are pretty wild. And I'm an open book, and I like to tell stories, so I don't spare any detail. Now on YouTube, on these videos, I can't. like I would get banned.
But now it's kind of the other way around. And not to shit on men and not to be like one of those, fat feminists fighting with men, but kind of ew. I'm sorry, but the audacity and the expectation, it's so gross. Like the amount of men that I talk to on dating apps, and like 2 sentences in, they start to talk sexual, and if you don't want to do it, they just like block you, unmatch you, whatever.
That's because a lot of dating apps, that's the entire function. You mentioned Bumble. If you're on Bumble, if you're on Tinder, both of those apps are primarily used for people to meet up and have sex. And a lot of guys, even if that's ultimately not their intention, like even if they are kind of open, even if they are actually open to dating, think about it from a male's perspective, right? Especially like now with the price of everything. Just to go on a basic date, I could see easily running $200. Easily. Going to a restaurant and like a movie, you could easily spend $200. And with the economy as it is, with the amount of debt people are in, you think a guy wants to spend $200 on a woman who has no interest in having sex with them? They kind of don't. Like, I'm sorry, but that's the reality. That's how a lot of guys think. Do you blame them? Do you blame them at all? And it's so weird. Like, look at the expression on her face. These people act like it's so insanely crazy. But it's not. Because those guys, guess what? They're getting several women responding to them, being super sexual immediately. And those are the women they meet up with. And some of those women that they meet up with, they ain't even having sex right away. It's just they want to establish that that kind of physical bond over the internet before they meet with the person. Oh. Because I'm not, like, to be honest, as a man, there's a lot of women who are like weird and frigid. I don't care. Like I said, a few years ago, I went out with a chick 3 times. I didn't even care like that if we didn't hook up on that 3rd date. I didn't even really care. Would have been weird. Would have been the first time it ever happened to me. But wasn't like make or break necessarily. It was a huge red flag. I think if her and I had continued dating, that it would have ended because she just wasn't frisky. She just doesn't. I don't know what was wrong with her. I don't. But hey, and I didn't not go out with her again because of that. I didn't go out with her again because on our 3rd date, we were going to go to an arcade. And I forgot my bag of coins. Like, spare change. I put all my spare change in this bag and I left it here in my house. So I'm like, oh crap, I forgot this bag of spare change. Let's just stop by my house. Then we'll go to this arcade. And she lived like a few towns over. So she had drove here. And we just went and like had dinner. 3rd date, right? So I drive here. Like she hops in my car. We drive here. I'm like, hey, want to check out the place real quick? And I just want to show her my house, right? Say like, hey, like we're here. Check out the house. Because people typically like looking at houses. It's kind of interesting. And you also get to know somebody a lot. I have a bedroom in my house that is just my video game collection. It's not even all of my video game collection because my collection is so big, but it's really cool, right? It gives you the vibe of like a video store from back in the day. And so my house, not what you see here, because this is like kind of a like dining room that I now have a computer set up in, because who uses a dining room? So there's just kind of like random stuff in here, but the rest of the house, you get tons of my personality just from seeing it. And it's a house. Who doesn't like looking at a house? So anyway, I'm like, hey, like, I gotta grab these coins. Come check out the place. Just wanting her to give her a quick tour of the place. Grab the coins. We go back in the car. We go to the arcade. But she was like, oh, I don't feel comfortable doing that yet. I'm like, looking at my house? And she's like, yeah. She's like, and I'm like, she said, I don't feel comfortable being alone in your place with you. I'm just like stunned. I'm just like, huh? What? This is insane. This is like the craziest thing I've ever heard. So anyway, so I grabbed the coins and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Third date and you're not comfortable stepping foot in my house? What do you think is going to happen? Like, what the hell? I'm just thinking, like, this is crazy. So anyway, I grabbed the bag of coins, get in the car. I just drive her back right to her car and say, all right, I'm not feeling too well. So, I think I'm going to go home and go to bed. I drop her off at her car. Never talk to her again. But it's so weird. People have these, like,
it's astounding. And the things I've read online about dating here is just shocking, honestly, and the things that my friends go through. So,
because, like I said, when I dated this girl that I'm talking about in my story here, not the girl on the screen, I would have been fine if she was like, I'm the type of person who doesn't want to have sex ever, or like doesn't want to have sex till she's married. If she said ever, then yeah, I'm out. But even if she didn't want to have sex till marriage, it probably wouldn't have worked out, but I would have like kept going out with her for a bit. It's very bizarre. Very, very bizarre. But if you ain't even gonna like stop, if you're not willing to step foot in my place on the third date, what is wrong with you? Like, there is clearly something very wrong with this person, and it's just bizarre because, like this woman's saying here, with the stories she's heard from friends. So these stories that you've heard from your friends, I am assuming some of them are pretty darn greasy and crazy. So why are you so like averse to like the tiniest bit of greasiness? It doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know. Like, they need to be humbled. I'm sorry, I'm being very rude, but this is their reality. I know there's some girls out there who are not cool either, and they will do horrendous things, but Jesus, the world is upside down now. Like,
she's talking about her greasy slur friends, saying they need to be humbled. Yeah, I think some do. I think some people take their like their promiscuity and they like wear it as a badge of honor, and it's like, slow down a little bit. That's like really gross. Like, I've heard some insane stories about people doing some incredibly disgusting things. like crazy stuff like gangbangs. Like, that's gross. I would never do something like that. Like, I'm sorry, but if I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine it. Like, the last thing I want to do is have the I don't want to be entering any holes that some other guy just filled. That's a little that's insane to me. I have no interest in that. But yeah, when people when guys tell these stories, I would say the same. They need to be humbled. They should realize, to even people who are pretty greasy, like a medium level of grease, that is the story that they're telling of something like that is horrifyingly disgusting. This is not something you should ever be putting out there. And especially for women. It's crazy that I've heard, it's crazy that there's women out there who will tell these stories. Like, it's gross enough when men tell these kind of stories. But for the women, ugh.
What's happening? I'm afraid that even if I meet someone, I don't think I will ever be able to trust them fully because of all that. I don't know. Like, I want someone who is gonna try to woo me. You know what I mean? Not someone who would take me for granted and not reply to my texts and not even
Oh my god. Red flags, red flags, red flags.
try. It's very difficult. And this
Not reply to my text. She's over texting. She's clinging on to these. She's going on these failure dates where she's not putting out her personality at all. She's not doing anything to attract the guy, not doing anything to make herself seem dateable. She's just being weird and awkward, barely talking on these dates. To total disaster at dates. Then she's texting the guy again and again. And of course they're not going to respond. You have no confidence in yourself. You have no personality. Whatever personality you have, you're hiding behind your shyness. You need to get over that. And if losing weight is what you need to get over that, then just do it. Put in the effort. It's not a lot of effort. It's like this, right? What's something I do every day? Gas in my car? I don't do it every day. There's not a great example. There's not that many things that you really do on a daily basis. But let's say putting gas in your car. If all I had to do was put less gas in my car, something that I have to do anyway, and this would solve my problem. If I could lose weight just by pumping a little less gas, I would choose to just pump a little less gas. The same principle applies to just consuming food. Just consume less of it. I'm not talking about a ton less. I'm saying 20% less. You'll have enormous results by doing that. That's how losing weight works. Just stop pounding back the food. Just take it easy. Eat a little less. I'm not even saying eat different things. I'm just saying have less of it.
This is very, very personal video. I can't believe that I'm saying all of that online, but
it's not. It's not. You just don't have a personality. It's not personal at all. You're not getting into the real details of what's wrong with you. At all. You're not addressing any of your real issues at all. You're pointing to weird excuses oh, modern dating sucks. Dating apps suck. Men want to have sex and that sucks. You're just pointing to these weird excuses. You're not even really focusing on yourself. You know what you're not understanding is that you're the problem in your dating life. Not society, not dating apps, not men. It's you. And you say, oh, this is personal. This is personal. No, this is generic incel black pill mumbo jumbo. This has nothing to do with you at all. At all. Other than, hey, I suck at dating. Okay. Like, how is that personal? How is you mentioning that you haven't had a boyfriend? How is that personal? You're not diving deep at all into the topic. At all.
You know, Valentine's Day is coming and I want my channel to be...
Like, so far, you've pointed to some things that are clearly the issue. Clearly the issue is a lack. You feel entitled to not put any effort into this. And you kind of don't care. You don't care that your dating life is non-existent. That's fine if you don't care. But don't preach to other people that they need to not care. Because that's messed up. That's absolutely messed up. And the other big issues, clearly the issues you have, is rom-coms, movies, stories that parents and grandparents tell their kids and grandchildren that are total BS. Is grandpa really going to say, oh, grandma had a tight ass and I really wanted to pound it, so I hit her up at the local bar and she gave me a beeger in the, behind the place? No, like they're not telling you the real story, because the real story is probably pretty greasy. While, like, they're going to leave out the greasy details. They're going to leave out the detail where, oh yeah, grandma was actually dating a dude and she gave me a greasy beeger behind the bar. You know what I mean? Like, there's a real dating world that most people live in. Then there's this fantasy crap of stories people tell. There's love stories. They're fiction. They don't exist.
All about, like, me being, real and kind of relatable. And I know there's, like, I'm not alone in this. There's so many of us that were on the same boat, which is crazy. Like,
oh yeah, it is crazy. There's a lot of pathetic losers who blame society for their failure at dating. There's a ton of losers like that. It is crazy, and it is surprising how many of them will just take zero accountability for their lives, even though they're adults in their 30s.
I've read somewhere that our generation has the least sex in history because, there was casual sex before, of course it was, but now it's kind of only that. Like, there's so many people that have, like, sex maybe, a couple times a year with just random people they meet, and they're not in relationships, so they don't get it that often. Like, that's mind-blowing to me. I feel like I'm going in a lot of different directions.
That kind of wouldn't surprise me. Because that's one thing that people also kind of fail to understand, is if you listen to old people, talk to old men, and they'll tell you how crazy things used to be. How the local bars used to be packed with people, and they could go there and get laid several times a week by different women. They could, they'll have some of the greasiest stories. And I don't, like, the people that I talk to, the old people I talk to, they weren't like they might have been born in, like, the 60s. But they weren't like they weren't hooking up with people in, like, the 60s and 70s when things were really crazy, right? So, but what people fail to realize is things were always super greasy. These standards of, like, women wanting to date, like, tall, jacked, rich guys. Hey, that's always been a thing. Casual hookups have always been a thing, and they always will be. Absolutely. Now, what's going on? It's actually nothing to do with dating in a certain aspect, right? Like it's correlated, but it's not as big as people believe it to be, or it's complex. Society has become a lot more complex and weird, right? Locally, there is only one bar that you can go to where I live. I live in a place of like 70,000 something odd people. Decades ago, there was like 8 strip clubs. Same population of people, but like 8 strip clubs. Just definitely more younger people lived here, but not like by an insane proportion. Like this has always been kind of where I live is actually like a retirement area. I live by like by one of the Great Lakes. Now, so there's like all kinds of nice beach and stuff. It's a great place for people to retire. Obviously, with the economy, we got like a tent city going. But people tell me these stories of decades ago when the bar there was like 50 different bars locally you could go to. All of them would have tons of people, tons of young people. Because people didn't really have other stuff to do. They couldn't have, like, you know, they were very limited on. They were limited to watching what's on TV or doing nothing, you know? It was pretty much that or go out with your friends or go out and try to score. Go out and have fun. Go out and meet people. So that's what they did. They went out and they met people. That practically doesn't exist at all anymore. There's like one strip club now, and I don't even know if that thing's open. Like, I have no idea. I don't know. It probably is, but I think ever since COVID, now I could be wrong because I don't even know. I think ever since COVID, they're open like maybe on like Fridays and Saturdays and nothing else. And like when I was 20, and like before COVID, there was 2 strip clubs, and they would be open all the time, like every night. Now that's totally not the case, and like even the bar scene is gonzo. You won't even find young people. It's crazy, and I do a bit of gambling sometimes, in the casinos. Dead as shit. Now if you go there during the day, sometimes there'll be like a sea of old people. On occasion they'll like bust them in. I don't know what the deal with that is though, but like outside of that, it is like a ghost town. It's real weird. But the bars, the same thing. Most bars won't even bother being open at all on like weekdays. Like if you're trying to go out on like a Wednesday night, go to the bar. Most bars aren't even going to bother to be open Wednesday night at all. And there's like one bar that will sometimes have like a fair, decent sized crowd. And it's not even like a bar that's like real accommodating towards that. There just isn't a bar scene. There isn't a night scene whatsoever. Things close earlier and earlier. And people like having huge parties is also gone. It's just people just don't do it anymore. It's crazy, but it's just like society has changed and become a lot more kind of like cliquey and smaller groups, which in some ways is good, but it really complicates things. Now, so the way that you meet people, it means you have to kind of put yourself out there a little bit more, or at least in a different way, in a different context. You ain't going to the bar and like meeting people. That ain't gonna happen. I don't see that as even being a problem because I go out other places and I meet people. Like whatever. And most of the people I meet, it's online. Even people locally. Through dating apps and just general social media. It's not hard. It really isn't hard. So on some level, such a statement kind of seems insane to me if I didn't think about it, right? If I didn't think about it. If I thought about just my personal experience, it's so easy to get laid. I just got to pick up this thing, my phone. I can get some tonight. It's 11 p.m. I can get some tonight. No question. Wouldn't even be hard. And I'm not in a relationship with anybody right now. Because, and then I'll put it this way: I could get some tonight. I could get a different one the next night, a different one the night, and so it's not forever, but probably a solid 7 days. I could. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying that's the modern landscape of like socializing. Now, that does tie into dating pretty heavily, and you can choose to hate that, to be defiant of that, but that's the reality that we exist in today. You can say it sucks. I don't think it sucks that bad. I don't know.
I didn't make any notes for this video. I was trying to like talk to you from my heart. But yeah, I am going on a date today. I met this guy on Tinder a week ago. We didn't really talk much.
God.
Just going away for the weekend.
Tinder's the worst.
This weekend. And I'm not really looking forward to it. I don't feel that there's a chemistry between us. I don't feel nothing. I feel like I'm kind of depressed lately.
It's Tinder. Of course there's no chemistry. Tinder is an app that's just saying like, hey, I'd bang you, let's meet up and bang. And it's also kind of on you to build the chemistry. Does she not know that in dating, when you go on a date with somebody, what happens is that the woman talks anywhere from 60% of the time to 75% of the time. Now that's a big, well, it could honestly it could be 80% of the time. Where you want to aim is 60 to 70% of the time the woman talking. That's just how dating goes. It kind of sucks in a way. Like it kind of puts more on the woman. But in a way, like it also doesn't. Like I find that women really enjoy talking about themselves and talking about the subjects that they're interested in. I don't know. I'm sure for some women it really sucks that that's the case. But like me personally, right? I've gone on dates where I'm talking 60% of the time. I went on one recently, and it went great. It definitely could have gone better, but it went pretty good, you know? And that's just because this person was shy and hadn't gone on a date in a few years. And it was awkward in some ways, but I made it as the least awkward that it possibly could be. But I'm somebody who is super comfortable in that range of 60 to 70, leaning more towards the 60, right? Carrying more of the weight of the date on my shoulders. If anything, I kind of prefer that a little bit because then it makes it a lot easier to ensure a good flow of conversation. But if there's a lack of chemistry, and you're like already not open to chemistry developing, and you're more in charge of how this date's gonna go, then it's going to be a disaster. I don't know. It's such a bad mentality to go into a date with. Like, why wouldn't a woman go into a date and be like, "This is gonna go good. Like, this guy seems all right. I'm gonna make sure this goes super well, in case I like the guy." And, if I like the guy, I want him to like me. So I'm going to be as likable as I can be. Right? Like, that's what men do. That's what women do. Why aren't you doing it? Why are you being such a negative Nancy?
And I don't know if it's even a good moment to do that, but I haven't been on one in years. And there's opportunity to go. And I feel like, I need to do it. So yeah, I'm gonna get ready and then I'm gonna let you know how that went. Maybe I'm gonna have some more thoughts after that. So yeah, see you on the other side. Okay, I'm all ready. I'm wearing, you've seen this dress before. We're just going for a walk, so it doesn't really matter that much. But
oh my god. I can tell already, and I tell this to guys. You need to go into this with the mindset, right? That, like, say a chick wants to go for a walk. A lot of times she's going to actually want to do more. She bothered getting dressed up, doing her makeup, shaving her snatch. She's open to more than that happening, right? She's already put in all this effort. She's already out. You got to be, like, prepared. And, like, women, you got to be prepared too. What if you really like the guy? Are you just going to awkwardly say goodbye? Or are you going to be like, hey, like, let's grab a coffee? Like, where do you want this to go? Do you want this to result in a relationship? Do you not understand that, like, in relationships, guess what happens? Guess what people do in relationships? Like, sorry to be crude, but it's real. You know people who are way greasier than what I'm describing. You know people who are way, like, more into sex than what I'm describing.
Yeah, I want to feel good. I did my makeup just a little bit. I put on lip gloss, which I never do. So big day for Daria on both counts. I'm a bit stressed.
Like, I'm not saying you gotta, like, put out, but I'm saying you gotta build that chemistry, right? Like, if this walk goes well, don't go into it being like, this is just a walk. You need to go into it to say, hey, I'm gonna see the red flags, I'm gonna see the green flags. If there's a whole bunch of green flags, I want this guy to be like, I want this guy to be amazed with how awesome I am. I want him to be really looking forward to the next date. Why wouldn't you want that to be the outcome? Like, what do you mean it's just a walk? You're going on a date.
Actually, I love stress. I'm awkward with guys. I really am. I think that's part of my problem. But
that's like 1,000%.
Maggie.
That is like 90% of your entire problem. You don't have confidence. You're awkward. It isn't. Therefore, it isn't fun to date you. Like, guys want to get to know you. They want to have a good back and forth. They want to build a connection. They want to build an emotional, personal connection. That's why they're going out with you. Like, what do you think guys want? What planet are you living on? Like, what the guy wants. A guy's actual ideal date is that you're into some of the same stuff. You kind of understand him a little bit. You're into him, and he's into you, and he kind of gets to understand you a little bit, and you build a connection. And I don't know, you like kiss at the end of the date. And you make it clear you want to go on another date, and you have a great time, and you get to know somebody on a personal level.
It. I was like, no, I want to cancel. And she was like, no, don't you dare, you need to go. I was getting up, sitting down. I was telling her how, like, the new season of Love is Blind is coming out this week, and she was like, Daria, you're telling me that you watch other people date instead of you going on a date. And I guess, she has a point. It's okay.
Love is Blind is the dumbest dating show in the world. Maybe not, that's an exaggeration, but the very premise of it is entirely flawed. What Love is Blind is this ridiculous, like, Netflix dating show where they have these two people and they're in separate rooms and they call each other. They're talking on the phone. And the idea is, oh, love is blind because we don't know what each other looks like. What happens on that show, every single time, every conversation between these men and these women, the first thing they talk about is they describe each other. They describe themselves physically. Oh, I'm such and such height. I'm such and such weight. My butt is this big. My boobs are this big. The guy, oh, I'm such and such tall. I am kind of athletic. I got big arms. I got tattoos. Every time. Now I've only watched like 2 different episodes of the show, but that's what they did. I'm like, that shatters the entire premise. Why aren't they completely excluded? Like, they shouldn't be able to describe themselves physically at all. That shatters the entire premise. Like, what? Like, it's so stupid. Well, there's no point in them not seeing each other if the first thing they do is physically describe themselves.
I'm gonna go now.
And if you think any dating show... Now, the dating shows are a much better representation of actual dating than, like, movies and TV shows and old stories your grandparents tell you of how they met each other. Way better than that, but still garbage. Because what exists in dating shows is you have these people who just want to be like... They want their 15 minutes of fame. They're excited to be on TV. And they're just putting on a front the whole time. They're playing up these aspects of their personality because they want to be cast on the next show and the next show. And they're pretending like they're interested in the person and they're falling in love. Like, it's so fake and ridiculous. But even in that, they're still behind the scenes. They're plowing each other in the bathroom, when the camera's not looking. Greasy, like, there is some actual dating and you do get some of the people's personality, but like stuff like The Bachelor or a lot of these goofy ones, you're getting like almost zero reality in your reality TV.
Right now, get 3 months of Disney Plus.
3 months? Holy. Oh God. Are we getting actual dating footage?
So, today is Wednesday, February 14th. It's Valentine's Day. So, my first date was on Sunday. I haven't filmed my update yet because, life got in the way. But, okay, let me tell you what happened. It was alright. We went for a coffee. He's nice. He seems like a kind person. But I don't know if there's any, like, actual attraction. I don't know. I think it's too early for me to say if it's like a, romantic situation or more like a friendship. He texted me after and we're gonna go on another date on Friday, which, to be honest, I am not really looking forward to. And that's so mean to say. I think I've been single for too long now. It is very difficult. I don't even know what I want, On one hand, I want this, like, amazing relationship like you see in movies and books because I love reading those. I am romantic at heart, but then on the other hand, I'm like, ew, no. I am in a very weird place in my life at the moment. My therapist thinks I might be a little bit depressed. I really don't have strength to do anything. Like, I don't.
Thank God she's in therapy because she's a disaster. I hope she gets her stuff together and, like, I hope making this video helps her reflect on what is going on, because she seems incredibly confused. Like, she has no idea what she wants out of dating or life.
don't want to do anything. Like going to the office seems very difficult. Even social media seems very difficult. And dating especially. I don't like anyone. And this guy is nice and everything, but it has nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with me. Like, I don't even want to go and meet anyone. I don't know. If you've been single for such a long time as me and like never really got a lot of attention from men, you might agree with me on that. When someone gives you attention, it feels kind of weird. It's like, what are you doing? Go away from me. I don't know if it's just me. Anyways, that's where I am now, and we'll see. Oh, it's difficult to be me. Oh yeah, today is Valentine's Day.
It's not difficult to be you. It's not difficult to be you. How? Like, explain. You say it's difficult to be you. How? Why? What are you talking about? You're confused. You have no idea what you're talking about. But, like, is that really all that difficult? Like, you're saying you're not even attracted to anyone. Are you, like, asexual? If you don't want to date anybody, then don't date anybody. Like, if you don't want to date anybody ever, you don't have to. That's fine. But then, like, what are you talking about here?
I don't know. I just had a few thoughts. I've never spent Valentine's Days with anyone. I don't necessarily feel very sad about this day. But then again, I don't know. I binged today for the first time in such a long time. I didn't eat a lot, but it was uncontrollable. I feel like this void inside of me, and I don't know if it's related, but it might be. I see all those people in relationships, and I think, is there something wrong with me? Because I just want to meet someone organically, not on dating apps. Dating apps are not for me. Like, on the apps, you only see the picture of someone, you know? And men usually don't put a lot of attention in their bio. There's literally nothing that will tell you about their personality there. And they're horrible at taking pictures, so everyone's literally boring and ugly. And you might think that I'm very picky, but I'm not. I'm really not. In real life, if the guy is like funny and kind, it doesn't matter how he looks like, I will definitely find him attractive because of that. But then on dating app, you don't see that. So it's lose-lose situation, basically.
She mentioned there that guys are terrible at taking pictures. That's true. And guys out there, do not get a good professional picture taken of you. Don't do it. Because what that will symbolize, what that will express, is that you're not manly and that you're desperate. That you're looking to, like, outshine other men, but in, like, the lamest, most pathetic, desperate way possible. Right? Like, as a guy, you should be bad at taking selfies. You should almost never be taking selfies, and you certainly should not be good at taking selfies.
I don't know. I'm not terrified of being single. I've been single my whole life. I'm not terrified of not ever having.
Because, like, what she's describing there, where people on dating apps, like, don't put in effort into their profiles, it's also kind of the structure of the dating app, though, right? Like, Tinder, it's not structured at all for you to even put your personality out there at all, because it's just the greasy sex app. That's all it is, right? But even other ones, they give you, like, a tiny thing, so it's, like, unreasonable to write more than a few sentences or one paragraph about yourself. Like, dating apps, they function by throwing a few green flags your way. Like, you look at a profile, all right, am I seeing a couple of green flags? All right, I'll give this person a shot. I'll go on a date with them and see how it goes. They're kind of made for that to be what's happening. So you end up going on multiple dates. Going on dates with, like, multiple people, and then seeing from there, like, that's how you get to know the people, is from that. It's not really meant for you to get to know people deeply on the app. Think about it. They're designed to show you a lot of people rapidly. It's speed dating through the internet.
Having a family, because that's not really.
And since that's the case, you also have to consider that since you're speed dating, you're actually giving off a lot of signals and a lot of information based off simply just the photos that you post, that you're using, right? You're giving off a lot of vibe and personality, which you think wouldn't really be the case. You need to kind of consider what aspects of your personality are you putting out there. Just on the level that you need to understand that you need to look at your profile and think about what the person who's matching with you is seeing, why they might match with you, and what they will know about you when you go on the date, right? Because they have very little to go off of, but they have something to go off of. They are getting a little sense of you. So from there, what you should be doing is subverting that expectation, impressing the person you're going on a date with by subverting that expectation, by being more than meets the eye. That's kind of a very simple function that is kind of like built into the very premise of dating apps, because it's speed dating, because they can't get to know you, right? So when they go on the date, that's when they get to know you. That's when it's like, oh, you liked this about me, but really what I am is this. And ideally they like that. They like both things. And so it's a very simple method. Like, it's almost impossible for it not to just naturally occur through dating somebody through a dating app. But it's also a tool you can utilize to have a much higher success rate when that date happens. Because you're subverting their expectation, because you're giving them so much more to be attracted to when the date actually happens. So they go in, like I said, they got dolled up. They put on their fancy clothes. They shaved their body. You know, they're looking on some level, hey, what if this goes super well? Is this guy going to be, in my guts? Might be, that might happen. So they want, like, this woman weirdly almost doesn't want a good outcome from the dates she goes on, but that is like super rare. That is weird. There's a lot going on with this person. Most times when people go on dates, they want a good outcome. They want to they want to hope that it goes well and leads to a relationship, because they don't want to waste their own time. They want to have fun. They want to get to know people. They want to fall in love. They want happily ever after, even if that is just a ridiculous fantasy. So you can kind of utilize that to do better in dating. I don't know.
What I want.
I find a lot of this is like incredibly straightforward, not complicated at all. So that's why I kind of say stuff like that. Like, I don't know. It's natural. Like, how do people not connect the dots naturally? Like, the first couple dates you go on, you start to piece this kind of stuff together. And I'm somebody who throughout my whole life have exceeded people's expectations, or like surprised people that I'm into something, that I'm a big fan of something that they never would have expected, or I have a hobby that they never would have expected. Or all of a sudden I know a lot about some random topic and they're like, oh, like, you're really into that. Yeah, I don't know.
It's just the thought of, like, you're the odd one, I've never been loved. And that's a very heavy thing to say, I think. Like, what's wrong with me?
Well, like I said it earlier in the video, and we're near the end of her video. You don't have a personality. You just made an entire video about how your dating life is a complete failure, but I don't know anything about you other than some of the misconceptions you have about dating. And I think on some level you made this video, and I think everyone makes these videos. Some part of them wants some good advice. So I'm going to give you some good advice. If you're going to make a video where you kind of maybe would like some advice, you want to change something about you, you got to put yourself out there. You got to like explain who you are. Like you said, it sounded like you lived in Europe, then you lived in Texas, then you went back to Europe. You're in like London or something. Why do you live in all these different places? What are you into? Put yourself out there. Explain who you are. Right? Like I tell people, do you like a movie? Is there a movie you like? Men, is there one movie you like? Name 3 movies you like. Do women like any of those 3 movies? Is there any movie you like that women in general like? Now, most likely, yes, there is a movie that you as a man like that women also like. What if you brought up that movie to a woman on a date, or talking leading up to a date, a woman you're talking to on a dating app, or social media in general, just a woman you're trying to riz. Could be someone you work with. Bring up a movie. Bring up any kind of movie. Right? Guess what? If that woman is familiar with that movie, and you could ask her, what's her favorite movie? Is there... Hopefully she mentions a movie that you've seen, and say, hey, I like that actor who's in that movie. And they might bring up, oh yeah, I like that actor too. And then what you can say is, yeah, I like that actor in this other movie. Say Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks is in a ton of movies that people like. Guess what? You can utilize that to build a connection very easily, right? It's actually like ridiculously easy. Or like Ryan Gosling, I mentioned him earlier. Literally say, oh, like, what movie do you like? The Notebook. Oh yeah, I love Ryan Gosling. I love him in whatever the hell Ryan Gosling is in. I don't know. La La Land. Say, oh, I like him in La La Land. There's a strong chance that whoever this woman is isn't even all that familiar with Ryan Gosling. Probably hasn't seen the movie La La Land. But guess what? You have. And all of a sudden, it's a musical with Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. You don't even have to watch the movie. But now, you have a connection. Just tell her, hey, oh, have you seen La La Land? You like Ryan Gosling? Have you seen La La Land? No, I haven't. Oh, well, you should check it out. It's Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone. It's a musical. It's pretty cool. She'll be like, yeah, I'll check it out. Boom. Now that's a pretty weak example of a connection because it's something like she doesn't really know about. But maybe from there she mentions some other movie that he's in that she likes. Some other romantic comedy. Whatever the hell.
Is there anything wrong with me? Am I alone? Guys, let me know in the comments, please, because I don't think I know a lot of people who've been in the same position as me. So today's Valentine's Day. Tomorrow, I guess it's like a singles day, right? I don't know. So yeah, let's connect, guys.
Like, it's on you to build connections with people, and you have to take on that responsibility. Like, you're just not doing it, lady. And I don't know why. And I don't know why you undervalue it so tremendously. Or if you undervalue it. If you value it at all. You're not being very clear. You need to make it like... If you make it clear to people who you are, whether it be your psychiatrist, your family, your friends, People will give you good advice, and you can use something that you're into and make a connection with people. You can even seek out people who are specifically into that similar thing. I just I don't understand people like this.
Guys, I'll keep you updated on my dating life because I obviously overshare everything on the internet. So, okay, I'll see you next week.
You actually don't overshare at all. Like I didn't really get much of your perspective. I didn't get much of your personality. I didn't get any detail really. You mentioned going on this date, and you say it went well, but you're not excited to go on another date. Then why are you going on another date? Why aren't you excited? You just are like saying you're not attracted to this guy you went on a date with, but you're going on another date with him. Why are you not attracted to him? Like what makes you attracted to people and not attracted to people? I get it, like you're going on the date with this person, you don't want to put them on blast and give details. But like it's sort of important. I just what are you looking for? I don't understand. Because there's millions of people out there. Like you're talking about living in London, England. Isn't that like one of the most populated cities in the world? What are you looking for that's not there? There's got to be like an ocean of men there who would date you. Maybe not an ocean of men, but like at least tens of thousands of men who would date you, who'd give you a shot, who'd get to know you, who would probably be pretty fun to date, to get to know, to try to build a connection with. Why won't you? Please explain. Why won't you?